Hi, I'm Jim Raffle. Welcome to this week's episode of the Jim and Shelby Show, all things print podcast. I am joined, as always, by...
It isn't always, but most of the time, Shelby Sapusik. How are you doing, Jim?
That way.
I'm doing great. And actually, you're right. And it's those rare times when you're not here that it's even more fun.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thanks.
But we have a special guest today, so let's talk about him and not me.
All right. Go ahead. Michael Wan, how are you?
Michael Yan, yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's easy to remember. Rhymes with moron, right?
It's going to be the best episode ever.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
Well, as my wife goes, well, his last name is Yan. It goes on and Yan and Yan and Yan.
Yep.
Well, it certainly isn't. It certainly isn't yawn because you're not boring.
Well, there you go. Let's see.
Michael, we have known you for ages, but can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself, please?
Well, I'm really not sure why I'm here. I'm a small farm animal husbandry expert, so don't know what that has to do with color. Anyway, now I worked for, I was a medical illustrator, and I was doing a color book back in the 70s, and I was using Dr. Martin's dyes to do airbrush, and the first proofs came back horrible, and I didn't quite understand why. I wasn't involved with printing or color at that point in my life. I was just a mere artist trying to make a living, and it turned out that they took pictures of the art using tungsten light with Ektachrome slides, totally wiped out. All the blues became kind of dark. All the reds kind of came pink. It was just the color got all messed up. So I had to do a quick dive to figure out, well, what did I have to change in my art to make it work? So I did, of course, like anybody would do, a bunch of swatches and send it through the process again. Of course, they also realized they used the wrong light with the wrong film. And I suddenly got slurped into the printing industry because of my passion to make color work. And that's really how I got into the business. And then I became very enamored with having customers, when we were printers, that wanted to say, hey, we have an ad and we want to give it to you, but we don't trust you. We don't trust it. It always gets messed up. My colors go funky. And this is around, when at the time where we were trying to do process color proofing in the analog way. There wasn't digital devices then. I'm old as dirt, as you haven't noticed. So, I just got involved with color management, but without any tools back then. A spectrophotometer cost $30,000 back then.
It did.
So it's been a wild ride. And then the problem then became, how do I give you a digital version of my ad so that you can impose it or paginate it into a catalog or a magazine? And of course, I was working with a gravure printer, and these customers were people like J.C. Penney, who were very worried about the fabric color. And there were certain things you couldn't do. You couldn't do a beautiful green, you couldn't do a purple. So there were certain compromises, but getting them to do things better with digital photography and understand color management at their end was a big part of my life. When digital cameras first came out, the Cytex Leaf, and then how do I send it? How do I send a file that has an intent in it, saying, oh, this is intended for newspaper versus this is intended for a really nice poster. So PDF became a big problem for us to solve, being that we had to really work closely with Adobe and say, well, how do I teach PDF to bring, because back then it was just RGB PDFs, right? Version 1, version 2. There was no CMYK. If you wanted to do CMYK PDF, you had to cheat and write some PostScript files and put it in the distiller params. And so suddenly, as you can tell, I'm getting slurped from an art person into printing, and then printing into coding. How do I teach PDF to behave? So yeah, I have a very weird career path. I now work for a software developer where we do kind of print management systems for small printers, 5 to 25 employees. and try to automate it as much as possible. And in that world where you're just doing business cards, there's probably not a lot of big worries about color fidelity. But at the same time, they're very important. How do I make money on a $22 job? Like how do I automate it and not touch anything? It's the whole touchless thing. So
we've experienced that firsthand. We were actually on site with a mutual client in the last month.
Well, they do. A lot of our colors do. A lot of our customers do color. I mean, I'm not trying to say they don't care about color. I'm just saying the bulk of their work probably is stuff like pads.
It is, yeah. So the reason you're here though is that Shelby for the last, is it a year yet? Close to a year, has been doing what we call the ColorGraphic weekly. And
I started it in July of last year.
Okay, so we're half a year. So and she put together a quiz on our website with.
I can show you what that looks like. This is what this is our most recent one. And I don't know if Michael's seen this one yet because I know sometimes he looks at them and says, "Hey, that's not right."
Oh,
but
wait.
This is the one for this week.
It's my wife's birthday yesterday. Let's see. While spiritual and private, this color also promotes productivity, creativity, and innovation. Okay.
Looks great to me.
Well, that's just it's Reseda. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm picking I'll show you the book in a minute. I have it here. But I'm picking a color of the week mostly through a book called ColorStrology. So that is what this first window is. And then at the bottom, I usually promote either an event or online training or something that we have coming up right now. It's ISA in Las Vegas coming up next month already in April. And then I have this Did You Know? And that is something I research and look up every week. And I will say since July, they get harder and harder to come up with every week, try to come up with something different and interesting. This week, I researched about how green is in the middle of the color spectrum wavelength. And so it's the color that we see the easiest. And then as long as we don't have some form of color blindness, typically we can see more shades of green than we can other colors. Anybody want to fight me on this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't want to fight you on anything.
Okay. I don't.
You're familiar with Jim, that Farnsworth. I'm mispronouncing the little circles, the little colored circles that you have to put in a row. What's the name of that test? Farnsworth.
It's Farnsworth. Yeah.
So I think the hardest one was yellow. I mean, they don't even make one with yellow because it's so hard to discern different shades of yellow. But the one that was the easiest was the one where I think it was magenta kind of area, where you go from the one end to the other end, and you're kind of trying to figure out. I think magenta is the one where you can do a lot of changes and you can discern differences at that wavelength.
Well, you could.
Yeah. I think I got 100 on that one, but I don't know if I could do it anymore because now I have cataracts in my eyes. Everything looks a little yellower. One eye's worse.
Hey, me too. I had one fixed this year. So,
so I couldn't be a color evaluator.
So what I found, so this is a good example. What I found is, as I've been doing the research, and what I do honestly is I yesterday or the day before, whenever it wasn't yesterday, 2 days ago when I was coming up with the Did You Know for this week, I found 3 different sources that said, yes, most humans, if they don't have some sort of color blindness, that's always a caveat, can see more shades of green than other colors. I found 3 sources, and then I sourced the graphic at the bottom of where I found the original source or what I thought was the best source. But of course, there are color is science. And so there are different theories about color. And so, and even different history about color, and sometimes based in different geographical areas, as we'll see when we go through the ColorGraphic quiz in a minute. But anyway, the book I was going to show you, can you see this? It's called ColorStrology. And that's where I come up with just the color of the week. And since we're only doing this weekly, I just flip to whatever it is, what week it is, and I pick one of the colors, and it has a description of what the color means, so on and so forth.
Who's that book by?
This book is by Michelle Bernhardt, and I also credit that at the bottom of the
Yeah, it's at the
ColorGraphic.
bottom of the color graphic every week. So,
Yep,
so let's
Cool.
show people the was
the
it
quiz.
the nine
Okay,
nine
hold
questions.
on. Let me make sure I've got that up, and I'll share my screen again, except with this.
We have 45 people who
So,
completed this.
so, so hopefully you are
Wow.
seeing this, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So in the beginning, I just explained that we're going to announce the winner on this episode. We're recording this right now. And all you have to do is give me your first and last name and an email address, because if you're going to win a Nix Mini 3, which is pictured right here, I have to have some way to get a hold of you. And I want to say too, we've been talking about how we have some different answers for this quiz questions. Your entry into this quiz did not hinge upon how many you got correct. You simply had to take the quiz and you were entered like everybody else. So even though we might have some disagreement about what the correct answer is, doesn't matter if you took the quiz, you are entered. So if I will just go ahead and do this. This is probably the seventh or eighth time I've done this, honestly. So
You're a fast typer.
I am. Well, it comes up pretty. I wish the website was that fast too.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's lagging. There we go.
There you go.
So you come in here and you start the quiz. Okay, so the first question was, what is the first color human babies start to recognize at about 2 weeks old? I don't think anybody gave me some pushback on this one. Everybody agree that it is red.
Red.
Red. It's red.
It's because red has the longest wavelength, apparently. Does that sound about right? No
Yeah, these are the ones
disagreements?
Michael doesn't agree with you on. Those are fun.
Yeah, this is the very first color graphic I put out at the beginning of July last year. This one, up until 1856, the only way to get a certain color was from snail mucus. Do you like my snail here? I think he looks
It
cool.
is.
He's
Yeah.
adorable.
So what color was that? I didn't get any pushback here either. I believe it's purple, right?
Yes.
All right. It was such a rare color that was really only worn by royalty
I should
back
have
then.
worn purple today.
All right, this is one that we had a little bit of disagreement. What color is most visible from a distance? Now, every single one I looked at until Michael asked me about it was that it's yellow, and that's why you'd be able to see a yellow cab. That's why school buses are yellow. But Michael, you believe it is?
Well, they color tennis balls they call it optic yellow, but it's greenish. And if you ever are on a highway and you're looking at signs, you got big, huge signs, those big highway signs telling you where you are and how many miles you got to go. They're green. It's just a matter of nanometers. You've just got the most, cones that can see that particular shade. So you're most sensitive to that. And again, this is more color science. And many studies back in the 80s by Wilski and Stiles. So scientifically, green is what I would tend to say. I I understand that there's yellow school buses and yellow cabs, and clearly those are good colors to make sure you see. But certainly when it comes to dark, they pick green lights for a reason. They got green lights, red lights.
So, but the thing is, the green is the background, and what your actual
On the signs, but certainly with the
words are,
lights.
and the words are printed with a retroreflective film. So,
Correct.
I don't know if it's a fair comparison, but you're all right. I mean, but if the other reason is there's a reason that the stoplight or the traffic light is green, red, and yellow. All three of those colors are pretty visible.
Yeah, and if you took, I think the study also was they put lights at various distances, like 1,000 yards, 10,000 yards, and they the green LED was the one that was the most that people could see at the distance. And again, now we're talking in the dark, which is
Yep.
different than distance.
Right.
So I think some of the visibility studies were decided basically saying, well, if it's dark, what color should we use to be the most
And
visible?
and
So, and that's a different question. I will agree.
It
This
is.
is more distance.
it's
So
all
when you
becomes
emailed me, Michael, about this question, I went back and did a little bit more research, and I believe I could have worded this question differently so that we would, one of us or both of one of us would be right. And the answers that I was coming up with is that during the daytime, yellow is more visible from a distance, and during the night, green is. But
well, and the thing that's changed is, like I said, the the increased availability of the retroreflective films, because you can make anything. The construction vests now are not just yellow or orange. They're embedded with retroreflective tape. So
Right.
it's a combination now. So let's move on.
all right. But again, it doesn't matter. You could have said black or blue and you still would have been entered to win. So that's fine. The next one, the 2025 color of the year. There's no question about this. It's Mocha Mousse, whether you like it or not. And I've heard a lot of people aren't crazy about the color of the year, but it is. All of these, though, by the way, Peach Fuzz, Very Perry, and Classic Blue have all been colors of the year for Pantone. The oldest color in the world. Now, see, this is one, Michael, that I almost figured you would push me back on. But my answer was bright pink, because it was found in fossils 1.1 billion years ago in the Sahara Desert. And once again, I went through and found three different sources that did say this was true. And I'm just curious, do you believe this?
Yes, I do agree.
Okay.
I think it has something to do with, you know, evolution of eyesight. That
Okay.
it seems like that color seems that we can seem to see it. Maybe, there's some theories that say we really couldn't see certain colors way
Mhm.
back when, when the Earth was cooling.
Okay.
When I went to high school.
No, not that long ago. This one's fun. What's the name of the dark gray color that your eyes see immediately after you turn off the lights and Jim before you trip over your cats?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah, do you remember?
Is it the third one down?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's Eigengrau.
I
Eigengrau.
couldn't grow.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, very German word. But yes, that is the answer. Michael didn't push me back on this one either.
I have no idea why I knew that one.
I tried to fool you too. I found German, I went through and found these are actual colors, and I thought, wow, I mean, those are all four of those are actual color names. All right, now let's talk about wedding dresses. I mean, today, of course, traditional is white. Um, I'm using the date 1840. There was a different color that was considered traditional. What color was it? Um, in my version, I had red as the answer, and I was looking at Queen Victoria. Uh, Supposedly, through historians, she detested the color red, and so she chose white for her wedding dress. And it kind of started a tradition back then. And I did look, and it is an exhibit in, I forget the whole name, the official name of the museum, but Queen Victoria's Museum. And so, but Michael said that he believes it was black. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I'm coming from a personal experience, not that I'm that old,
I was
but
gonna say, wait.
I have a photograph from my great great grandmother's wedding,
Hmm.
and they wore black, and so that was kind of why I immediately was thinking, well, why 1840? So I'll admit I then cheated and said, okay, I'm going to search and read up on the whole reason why 1840 that this trend changed because of the Queen. Um, but that was over there. And
Right.
again, I'm kind of again personally saying, well, what was happening over here? And that's where I went off on my little rabbit hole and said, well, it just seems that black, just like you would wear a black tuxedo, just it was black was the popular color. There most people were married in a dress was black. And again, because of my personal having my brother actually has this photograph up on his wall at his house. It's not even a photograph. I'm going to say a silograph. I can't remember the term, but it was an original. Obviously, they put this gel behind and took a picture with Carl and Anna. So they were both in black, and it was obviously black and white.
Yeah.
But she clearly wasn't wearing white; she was wearing
Right.
black.
Right.
So, but then again, I don't know. How did red photograph? Maybe it was red and it just photographed in black and white as black. I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't have the dress to prove my point. But that's kind of where I came from.
Okay,
I'd never.
fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, once again, you
I
emailed me
could be
about
wrong. Could be
Yep.
wrong.
You emailed me about this, so I went back and did some more research. And it sounds like geographically, back around the 1840s, there were different colors for different areas of the globe. I even found some references to blue.
Yep.
So I guess
So
in
all these could have been right. I've
black,
never
blue,
heard of
or
a
red.
yellow wedding dress, but you could. I think black, blue, red, all
Yeah.
those were probably popular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good, interesting. What animal sees more colors than any other animal?
A shrimp.
Yeah, I have no idea why I knew that one either.
Isn't he
Must
cool
have
though?
read
He's so
something.
colorful. Yeah.
Probably saw the color
Uh,
graphic on the week
Yeah.
of 11/11.
yeah.
No, I never subscribed to your newsletter, so I didn't get to see
I
this.
post them in
And
social. They're in
Oh
social.
yeah, they're on Facebook,
Post them,
Twitter,
yeah, we post them everywhere.
LinkedIn,
yeah,
and Instagram every week too.
All right,
But
drum roll, please.
so anyway, so then you get the results. Let's see what the average is for everybody who took the quiz. The average score was 62%.
wow,
Not too bad.
All right.
that
So
was
we
good.
are to the point where we're
That's not the
using,
winner. That's not the
I
winner.
know, we're using the rand doesn't they don't know. There's a spreadsheet that I made from everybody. Now this is like a random, not yet. We're not ready.
It was 14.
Okay. But we're going to use I was explaining how it's going to work. We have a spreadsheet and I put in everybody who took the quiz and then I gave the spreadsheet to Jim and I stopped it right before we recorded this episode at noon EST today, March 4th. Yes, March 4th. And Jim's going to shake his phone and it's a randomizer. Have you guys ever seen The Floor? It's a game show. It
Oh,
comes on
because
Fox
they the
on
floor.
Wednesdays. Well, okay, not that floor. It's a game show. Okay, anyway, they got a thing called
Sadly, after many tequilas, I've seen the show.
Rob Lowe, who is like my favorite from the 1980s Brat Pack movies. Anyway, he's the host, and he has a randomizer. So anyway,
Nice.
All
I
right. So
digress.
this randomizer picked Kendall
Uh-oh.
Nodal.
Let me look at
Knodel.
my what?
Kendall Nodal. Knodel. Nodal, right?
No.
Yes, Kendall.
Congratulations, Ken.
Oh,
Oh,
Kindle, yes, Kindle wins. I will be emailing. I do have the email address, so I will email and get that person's
Guess who was
sample.
number 15?
Michael.
He missed by one.
Oh.
I always win.
Yeah, so tell us about that.
Okay, so a long time ago, I was asked to do a presentation about color matching, and it was kind of at I think this it was like called the Create show. So I knew I was speaking to art people who were in Photoshop trying to see, well, how do you match color? So my whole presentation was, what color is your cheese doodle? And I picked that particular color because if you've ever looked in a Pantone book at Pantone 165, the CMYK equivalent or CMYK attempt to simulate Pantone 165 is miserably bad. It's just, you can't get that Cheeto orange. You can't get that really bright, saturated hue. So I use that specifically. And during my presentation, I say, well, how do you communicate this color? If you're saying, I want my logo to be this color, you know, what do? Do you send a bag of Cheetos? I mean, do you bring a Cheeto to the meeting and hold it up? You know,
There it is.
Yeah, and then that was the time, I think Pantone announced the color monkey. I think it was a spectrophotometer. Again, it was small, looked like a tape measure. So it was like measuring color. It literally looked like a tape measure. And it was very, it was a clever thing. And again, it was, it's,
That doesn't even look like it.
Yeah.
This is uncoated book, but
yeah, it's tricky. Yeah, uncoated and of course over video. So the whole point was it was a little silly, but it made the point, that people understood that, hey, communicating color, you need a guide, you need a standard. And this was what brought Pantone to the market, and it really, really helped us. We're all kind of sad that it's no longer part of Photoshop and Adobe's products, but it's just like any market, everybody wants some money, right? Software developers are pirates. That's what we are. I work for one. Trust me, we have to pay rent. So yeah, we just have to figure out a way to make money. So yeah, it's color management is one thing. Color matching is another thing. It's amazing how the technology has changed, where they have devices on presses that read it and report you and say, hey, you're 17 delta E's off of on this swatch over here. Stop the press. Don't continue printing, because as when you go into a grocery store, you can't have two boxes of Count Chocula that look completely different. People will think one's old or something. So it's really key in the retail world that color matches. It's a science. And if you're not in that world, then you probably don't need to be talking or watching us. But thank goodness for people like Jim and Shelby, who can come on like a SWAT team and fix your kit.
Ooh, we need uniforms.
that's what we do. Yeah.
We need uniforms.
Yeah.
SWAT team uniforms. Yeah.
SWAT patches. Yeah. All right. So, Michael, thank you for
You
joining.
could say swatch instead of SWAT.
That's
SWAT team.
I think, and have
Oh, this is gonna go bad.
color bar. Yeah.
Anyway, it was wonderful being with you guys.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see you at the shows and see you on the floors.
Are you going
be
to
in Vegas in a
ISA
month?
this year?
So.
Go Bills!
Yeah. Are you going to be at ISA next month?
No, we're not.
No. Okay.
But we'll catch you around, I'm sure.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thanks for participating in
My pleasure.
The 45 of you who did that, we really appreciate it. And I'm sure Shelby will do something like this again sometime soon, and we'll probably give away another Nick's Mini or something like it. So,
and get a guest person that has hair or something.
That's how, even the host doesn't have much left. So,
all right, guys.
All right. Thank you.
We digress. So, all right. We'll see you all again next week.